So I had a topic to discuss during this first live stream in my studio of 2024. But I've decided to go ahead and wing it and come from the heart this evening. So let's go ahead and start this episode of the Sneaker Principle podcast live stream.
When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody's going to clean it up.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.
So I promised myself in December that come January 2024, that I was going to go all in. You know, this is something I think a lot of content creators do. You know, you kind of like fall off for various reasons, whether it's just like, you know, time constraints or lack of inspiration, whatever it may be. And I told myself, listen, January 1st, I'm going to start creating content every day before I go to bed, you know, early in the morning. And it didn't quite happen. I posted for the past 2 days, but those 2 posts were from school. And it was more like me pushing myself to do something to kind of shake the cobwebs off, right? And to get myself in just a mental state of just saying, okay, listen, I'm going to do this. But they were painful. Creating content is very painful because you have to be inspiring. You have to, at least this is what I believe. You have to be inspiring. You have to be entertaining. You have to make sense. You have to be coherent. All these things that you have, all these have-tos that you have, right? And I just couldn't find it, right? But I decided, you know what? We're going to do until the do becomes the do, right? So this evening, I had a topic, embracing change in educational technology. It's a very good topic. Connects to a lot of things that I believe in as far as what should be happening in schools, what should be happening in education. But somewhere in there, I just felt like I was putting on a show. I wasn't being authentic, or at least I wasn't allowing myself to be authentic. I think, hopefully I know from those people that I've had the pleasure of meeting in person who've watched my content, people who've said to me like, wow, I really appreciate what you do. Even though to me, I do have heavy levels of imposter syndrome where I just feel like, you know, what I'm doing is BS. So if you're watching it and you're telling me it was good, like you're just being really, really nice and you're probably just saying, oh, poor guy, he thinks he's saying something. But there has to be a reason that I even started this, right? It has to be a reason that I actually even invested the money and time to learn how to podcast, how to create video that looks like this, how, you know, the lighting, like this whole entire space here took a lot of time and effort and money to create. But it was for a purpose. And that purpose was grounded in this belief that I had something to say, something grounded in my experience, something grounded in the things I've gone through as an educator, as a teacher, as a dean, as an assistant principal, as a principal 3 times over. There's something to be said, something I need to get off my chest. And to be honest with you, I haven't felt authentic, like truly authentic. The only time I felt authentic was, when was that? 2022? 22 or 23? 2021. Yeah, it was 21. Oh, was it 22? No, I think, no. See, look at this. Time is flying so by 22, yeah, 2022. When I wrote that open letter, whatever you want to call it, and I posted on LinkedIn saying that I was leaving education, and this was why. I had reached a boiling point. I reached a point of pure discontent where I was just like, I'm tired. I'm tired of getting beaten down by a system. I'm tired of, having to wear a mask all the time. I'm tired of not being able to be my most authentic self, even though outwardly I was presenting as my most authentic self. But rather, what I was doing is I was biting my tongue. I was minimizing myself as to not ruffle other people's feathers. Even as the principal of the school, I was just holding in the man that I am, the educator that I am, the things that I believe, the reasons that kept me in the game for almost 20 years. I held back because I didn't want to, maybe a little bit of it was not wanting to get in trouble for saying or doing the wrong thing. I didn't want to upset people, by being brutally honest. I just held back for many, many years. It's like holding your breath because you're holding your breath, turning blue, your chest is on fire, but you just keep holding your breath because you don't want to disturb the sense of balance that exists, not for you, but for everybody else. And I got to a point in 2022 where I said, I am done. I'm tired. I'm done. So I wrote that letter as I was walking away from education, thinking that it was just me putting to pen kind of like my, the things, the darkness, the soil on my spirit that I just need to get off of me. I just put it all on paper and said, okay, I want to do something with it. I don't want it to just be on a notebook or on a laptop or somewhere. I'm just going to post it, do something courageous, because if I'm leaving the system, I can't get in trouble, right? So I was like, I'm just going to put it out there. So I wrote what I wrote and posted on LinkedIn, not knowing that there would be, it was well over 100,000. I wouldn't say, I might be wrong. I haven't looked at it in some time, but I know it reached like mid six, I would say low six figures of readers. There were hundreds of comments. I had hundreds of DMs. I had people reaching out to me, offering me to sit on their board. People offering me jobs, saying that, man, in charter schools, different spaces. And I was blown away because in the DMs, people were telling me, I feel the same as you feel, but I just don't know how to walk away. I can't afford to walk away. People who told me that they were suffocating and dying in their roles as school leaders. Some were teachers. Some were assistant principals. There were a couple of superintendents that hit me up low key, and this was coming from all around the country. So it would have been one thing if it was just New York City. It wasn't just New York City. It was like around the country. And I was like, what? Then all of a sudden I got, people calling from magazines and TV stations saying, hey, we saw this thing. We want to talk to you. It was also around the time there was a lot of people exiting education. But I didn't do it for any of their reasons. I just did it because I'm just trying to get stuff off my chest. To be honest with you, I was trying to get shit off my chest. I was like, finally, I can breathe, right? And at the same time, what made it easy, it's like I got a pretty good job offer. I mean, it was pretty much, a lateral move, but it took me outside the school building into the quote unquote startup world, right? Because at that point in time, I was calling this corporate. It wasn't corporate, it was a startup world, right? A startup world job that was 6 figures, a little bit more than I was making as a principal. And I took it and I ran with it, right? But I'll be honest with you, even as I was taking it and running with it and everything was transpiring, and all of a sudden my name was getting out there and people knew me. I was more infamous than I was anything else because I was that guy who did that thing, who wrote that thing, who posted it on LinkedIn. But I was transitioning into that other space. I traded in one mask for a new mask. It was just crazy. I walked into a space that was no better than the space that I walked out of. A space that still demanded and commanded that I fit into a mold that required that I shrink myself. Because my most authentic self, I finally realized, was the problem. My most authentic self made people uncomfortable. Even though I wasn't even being fully authentic, the glimpse of it made people uncomfortable. But people wanted to tell me about what they could do for me when the whole entire time I could do for myself. But as leaders, we're not trained to be authentically leaders. Because you're leading, you're often walking by yourself. But in education, you're not allowed to walk by yourself. You're not allowed to be a free thinker. You're not allowed to color us out of the box. You're forced to be, a gingerbread man cut out that's just pressed out over and over again. So you're just resembling what's already out there. And I found that when I went into the private setting. That didn't last very long. Great, thank you, Lord. God is good, but that didn't last very long. And it also gave me time to sit back for a couple of months and reflect on not what I wanted to do, but who I wanted to be. Not as a leader, not as a teacher, not as a principal, not as an AP, not as anything. Who did Uche want to be? And how would Uche present that to the world? And that has been the journey I've been on since last January, February. And in that time, some pretty amazing things have happened. And I'm still a work in progress, but there's some pretty amazing things that have happened. In me walking away from that private space, that startup space, and saying, okay, now here I am. I got a couple of months of savings and, money coming in. I got to figure out what I'm going to do next. And my natural inclination towards the work that we do as educators kicked in and said, hey, maybe I should try the charter world, right? I started applying for jobs in the charter world. I was like, you know what? I've been a school leader for a long time. I've been working as administrator for a long time. Let me see what's in that space. And nothing quite clicked. Because I was like, am I trading in for the third time from the public school setting to the startup world, ed tech, if you want to call it that, to now go to the charter? It was like me allowing myself to fall back into the same habits, the same routines that made me unhappy. So something said to me, while you're trying to find figure out what you're trying to do, throw some feelers out there, back in the space that you know best and that you came from. So I sent out emails to superintendents across the city of New York. And I said, hey, I'm that guy who walked away months ago. But however, I have a strange feeling that I should be back in. I should be back in. And I got some responses, quite immediately, actually. But the one response that I received had to do with a school that was the lowest performing in its district. Then I did my data dive, and I was searching the internet looking for any information I could find about the school, and there had been so much upheaval and craziness happening in this particular school. And the one thing that I found that really sparked my interest was that this school was also labeled as a bottom 100 school in New York City. Bottom 100. I think it was like 97. And 97, 98, something. It was. I know it was in the 90s. And I thought to myself, okay, the worst performing school in its district, bottom 100 in the city, and the city has about 1,700 schools. And I don't know what it was. I was like, you know what, I want it. And because I just figured like it just couldn't get any worse, right? So I want that school. But something in my spirit spoke to me and said, if you're really about this work, because I've always said this to my staff and my colleagues, this is not a job. Working in education, being an educator, being a teacher, being one who is in the space of protecting and guiding children, you are not in a job. You're doing God's work. This is work. This is something that you're built for, you're not built for. And my thing was, if I really believed from the bottom of my spirit and from the deepest parts of my belly that this is what I was built for, then this would be the perfect school for me. And thankfully, the superintendent made me the offer. I accepted. And I walked away from the Department of Education. I think I posted my letter sometime in September, or I think it was sometime after I was officially out of the Department of Education. I posted that letter on LinkedIn, and that was September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 8 months later, almost 8 months to the day, I was now in the South Bronx, back again as a principal. Some people might think, see, you came back. Like, and they always come back. But I'll tell you this. I'm not sure what came back. Uche came back, Uche Lawrence Njoku, actually better yet, Uche Chukwu Lawrence Njoku, EDM. The vessel, the outward appearance, yes, did walk back into the Department of Education. But, however, the driver, the force driving this machine was very different. Very, very different. That time away allowed me to really reflect on, like I said before, who are you? Who are you? Why are you doing this? To what end? And even most importantly, are you being who you know you are meant to be in this role that has been given to you from the day you walked in 2005 into the New York City Department of Education? The day you walked on to Discovery High School in the Walton campus, and it was your first day, your day one in a school building in a professional capacity. And it's funny that it took 18 years specifically within New York City, from the day that 18 years almost from the moment that I came into New York till the month of May of last year that I walked into that school, for me to say, there is no fear. If I'm not meant for this, then I need to be fired. If my superintendent comes to me and says, you are not cutting it, I'll pack my bags and walk out of the building. That's the level of confidence that I had, the clarity of mind. It was like, listen, Uche, you've done this. And it's funny now because this is all me reflecting over this time period. Me leaving, the months I was away, me coming back, people being shocked, like, wait a minute, he's back? Like, what was that about? The naysayers, the doubters, all these outside forces that in the past made me nervous and uncomfortable, and I had to be a certain way. And now I don't care. I'm locked in on my job. I'm sorry, wrong word. Habits are hard to break. I'm locked in on my work. And my work, as of May 1st of 2023, was to lead the lowest performing middle school in District 7. Bottom 100 school in New York City. A school being eyed to be closed down. To be in a school that any parent would be proud to send their child to. A school that I'd be proud to have my daughter and son attend, even if I'm not there. That became my focus. I remember being asked the first day I was introduced to the staff, and this school has had, I believe, 9 or 8 principals in the past 15 years. Think about that. Even at 8 in 15 years is a lot. This school had been kind of like a school that if you as a school, if you're not doing well, or you're not doing good enough, you can at least look at that school and say, hey, at least we're not them. But I walked in there ready. So ready that I had spent the previous 2 weeks just doing a data dive, digging deep, planning out everything, every nuance, everything, understanding every little detail, the pulse, the heartbeat, the health, the strengths, the weaknesses of the school community. Understanding the experiences on database experiences of students and teachers, the performances, the valleys, the highs, everything that had happened over the past number of years. I studied. I became a student of that school community. And there was no fear. Because again, I told myself, if I'm really about the work, and I'm unable to do my job, I should be removed. I don't need a union rep to come fight for me. If I suck at what I do, if I'm not as good as I think I am, then I should be removed. As a matter of fact, I remember some of the comments that came to me. I'm not sure if they came through. Maybe I think some of them were public comments. There might have been one or two that came via DM. They were kind of like, I don't want to say. I mean, when I posted that article on LinkedIn, I'm not saying people were being trolled, but I don't think they were being trolled. I think they were being honest, and I probably would have thought the same thing. People who said, pretty much, you're leaving because you couldn't hack it. You leave like what you're saying. There seems to be way more to this than just that you were burnt out or whatever. Because like maybe you just weren't, you probably just sucked at this. And I won't forget that, because those comments, listen, I'm an Igbo boy. For those of you who are listening right now, I'm from Nigeria. I'm an Igbo man. Igbo men, we don't like to be seen as incapable. So maybe there's a little bit of a chip on my shoulder as well, in me taking to school and saying, if I am as good as I think I am, as I've been told by my mentors and those who've poured into me over the years to bring me to the point, my time at Columbia University, as a Con Fellow, as a Gray Fellow, all these spaces, all these things that I've done over the course of my career, if I'm as good as I think I am, this is the school for me to truly put to test my theories, my beliefs, but also do it in a way that is uncompromising. And I'll tell you this, the best part about it is that I had a superintendent who was willing to have faith in me to do the work. And fast forward, it's been 8 months and 13 days since I took over this school. Some of the lowest performance scores, proficiency scores, attendance that was moving in the right direction, but had been kind of like lackluster at best. Culture that was broken. How kids relate to each other, how kids relate to the teachers, teachers relate to kids, parents relate to staff relate to their parents. People telling me, oh, that parent is nasty, or that child is just disgusting, oh, that staff member, oh, I can't stand it. I mean, this was the language that was consistently around me, to the point where I had to start telling people to shut their mouths. I don't want to hear it, because no child is disgusting. A child who's exhibiting whatever they're exhibiting is typically, almost 99.9% of the time, they're expressing a reflection of their trauma through their behavior. When you tell me that teacher sucks, and then I find out, wait a minute, that's a first year teacher. How do they suck? Have they been supported? Have they been set up to succeed? When I hear, oh, that parent is disgusting, I can't listen. I can't. I don't want to talk to that parent. I'm like, what are you talking about? Okay, you're making well over $90,000 a year. This parent is trying to make ends meet. In one of the poorest congressional districts in America, with a full on family living in subpar situations, just surviving. So you get to look down at them. And the one thing that I did was this: I called people out in the ways that I had never done before. I spoke truth to power in everything that I did. When I spoke to the kids, when I spoke to the adults, everyone. I'm going to keep talking. If you're seeing this right now, it's just one of my devices is doing this weird thing, but I'm still here, and I should be back on screen shortly. Let's see. One moment, guys. All right, so I'm visually back again. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you're live streaming. So all that jazz that was being said, I was just like, nah, I'm not having it. I'm not having it, and I pushed forward. And I was told, people had to be fired and I was advised people had to be fired and had to be out of there. and I fired no one. I made it very clear to everybody. You know, we have work to do. We have a mission to accomplish. Are you going to be on this train, or you're not going to be on this train? Are you going to join us in changing the narrative, changing the direction? A school that they want to close, the school that should be closed based on the data. But what I did was I had to say the truth. Like, this is going to be tough. We're going to work hard. You know, we're going to shift everything. I remember one thing that was very interesting when I got there. In this district, every middle school has uniforms. I don't know any single middle school. And whether or not you believe in uniforms or you don't believe in uniforms, that's besides the point. That's the culture. But for this particular school, there were none of the kids wore the uniform. I had very few kids wore the uniform. Most of the kids just wore what they wanted to wear. They were ripped jeans, belly shirts, all kinds of like things that just didn't make any sense to me. I was like, what's going on here? What is the culture? And I was told the kids just don't want to wear it. But then at the same time, money had been spent, bought. They were given uniforms. Nobody was wearing it. So maybe this is a story for another time. Excuse me. Maybe this is a story for another time. But to make a long story short, one day it was sometime like late May. You know, the weather's looking beautiful. We have a huge, outside space playground and all that. And I stood there at that door by myself, 10 toes down, and said, if you want to go outside, you better be in uniform. And I think it was probably maybe 20 kids out of close to 200 kids. Only 20 kids got to go outside. Everybody was in the cafeteria. And it was an uproar. Kids were upset and everything else. And I said, okay, you can be upset all you want to be upset, but if you're in uniform, you're going outside. If you're not, you're not going outside. And I got cussed out and all kinds of stuff. Parents calling me. I'm like, okay, that's wonderful. One more time, the school has a uniform policy. And it's in the books. Uniforms were bought, given to kids for free. And you better have that uniform if you want to go outside or lunch. And that's my only one thing. I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to call your parents. I'm not going to give you detention. If you're in uniform, you get to go outside. If you're not, then you're sitting in the cafeteria. Day one, kids were like, I'm not wearing that damn uniform. I'm not doing this. F this, F that. Day two, about half the kids all of a sudden were in uniform. Day three, I would say about 80% of the kids were in uniform. And I made it very clear every day. I told the staff, this is the rule. If they're not in uniform, they're not going outside. That simple. And there was never an issue again. Yes, like any school, you're going to have those outliers. But to have only 20 kids out of 200, that was like, nah, we're not having that. This was the kinds of things that I was doing that in the past, I would have been thinking to myself, I don't want to cause, I got to be more strategic. And I was like, no, this is very simple, clear cut. Instructional in classrooms. I walk into classrooms and I would say more than most of the time, there's very little happening instruction in the classrooms, so which made it hard for those who were trying to do something in the classrooms because the kids would be like, why are you giving me work when everybody else isn't doing the same thing as you? So, started meeting with teachers. I was in there, asking where's the beef? You know what I'm saying? Like instruction is like it's like bread. It's like a hamburger, right? You have the top bun, you got the lettuce, the tomatoes, the beef, the main course, and then the bottom bread. Like, where is it? And I started holding people accountable to that. People were complaining and talking about grieving me with the union. I was like, okay. All I'm saying is, for you to do your job. I'm not asking for anything more than that. And I made it very clear. And then that was the beginnings, the first 2 months of really engaging people and saying, this is my expectation. I'm not going to be mean about it. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but I'm going to demand of it. and my expectations is in line with the chancellor regulations, is in line with your contract as a teacher, you know, in line with your contract as an administrator. Like literally everyone, I had to make sure that everybody understood this is what is going to happen. But the best part, I had no fear, no doubt in what I was doing. I was very, very clear in my mind, in my understanding of what had to be done. And even better yet, I was very public, very vocal. And this is funny because I would like to say I've been a successful principal, but I wasn't authentically me. I wasn't willing to ask the questions. I wasn't willing to make people feel uncomfortable. I wasn't really willing to ruffle feathers. I just kind of like said, okay, how do I get to my end point with the least amount of resistance from those that are involved? But now I'm like, listen, if I got to carry on my back kicking and screaming, I'm going to carry on my back kicking and screaming, unless you choose to leave, because we're all moving forward together. And a lot of this might be about, you know, being older now. You know, maybe it's because I'm settled in my mid-40s now, and maybe it's a midlife crisis. I don't know, but I just walked into the school like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I know I made a lot of people feel uncomfortable. That's without a doubt. You know, some people I made uncomfortable were my colleagues as well. I understand that because again, I was a little infamous. I was that. Wait a minute, isn't that guy who quit? He quit. And it's funny, but check this out. It just came to me. One of the comments that I read was that I quit on the kids. You know that I quit on the kids. That I left for a cozy job, you know, office job, you know, and I was not really about the kids. And it's funny because, you know, some of that I know followed me when I came back in. Some people were thinking that. But I'll tell you this, leaving was the best thing I ever did. It was the best thing I ever did. Being able to step away and just watch and feel and scrape away the dead skin from years of just holding it in, allow myself to be raw and walk in and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And over the course of the summer, and check this out, the summer started off, you know, mind you, I started in May, June, graduation, all of a sudden, summertime, right? And I'll tell you this, summer was tougher than, walking in May, you know, summertime was tougher without the kids there, but I'll tell you why. I found out that we only had 16 kids coming. 16 kids that had committed to be at the school in September. 16 in the 6th grade. I'm sorry, let me be more specific. 16. And I was like, what? 16? How is that possible? And I remember being told, like, listen, the numbers are so low at this point in time that you might have to, you might have to give back a whole lot of money and possibly let go some teachers, you know, because now you're overstaffed. In total, I needed, give or take, about 70 more kids. And you have to understand, public schools is not like private schools where you have people lined out, or charter school, people lined out outside your door trying to get their kids in. Public school is public school. So the philosophy is pretty much you get whatever you get. And I saw that number 70 as a challenge. I was like, wait a minute, we got to find 70? I don't want to lie. It was a little like, damn, okay, how are we going to do this? 70 kids. But, you know, I wasn't scared. I was like, okay, 70 kids. All right, so what are we going to do? All right, we have to start our rebranding because, again, one of the issues was the reputation of the school was one where people in the streets literally walked up to me saying, "Are you the new principal at that school at MS224?" And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "Ooh, God bless your heart. You know, I would never send my child there. I hope you could do something there." But that's just, I mean, people would look at me with pity. School safety agents, my fellow principals would look at me like I was like I was like blind and dumb. Like I didn't know what I walked into. And but again, it can only get better. Come on now. Listen, the song doesn't say we started from the top, now we're down. It says we started from the bottom, now we up. Now we here. So my thing was like, okay, the shift is going to be more magnanimous because of where we're starting from. So what did I do? I got my team together, those who were willing, those who had a little bit of faith, and these were, you know, a handful of teachers, pretty much my whole entire guidance team, and we started hitting the pavement. I was designing new brochures. I was designing banners, things, you know, to put outside the building to let people know now and rolling, making sure that, you know, that everything was brand new. Before we went on break, the kids told me, "We don't like our mascot." I was like, "All right, fine. Then we're going to pick a new mascot." And the kids picked the mascot. I had nothing to do with it, you know, and they picked the Panthers. I was like, "I love it." You know what I'm saying? Wakanda forever. One of the kids created our new logo with a panther paw with 4 toes on there, which was, you know, like amazingly in alignment with the core values that I had been crafting, you know. And somebody might ask, "Did you create the core values with the staff?" No, I didn't, because I learned one thing, you know, as I was reflecting and trying to figure and molding, peeling the layers back of who I wanted to be moving forward. And there were 4 words that kept on coming up in different spaces, in different ways. Belief. You have to believe in yourself. I had to believe in me, in my abilities. I had to believe in the abilities of my staff and of the school and the community. You know, so belief, excel. Come on now. Why else are we doing this if it's not to excel? You know, we don't do education to be subpar, to fail. It is to succeed, to excel. Strive. I kept on telling myself, no matter what happens, I gotta keep striving forward. I gotta keep striving. Start pushing myself forward. No matter what, I gotta keep pushing the school forward. Believe, excel, strive, and I had to trust the process. I had to trust God. I got to trust the community. I had to trust my teachers. I had to trust myself. And it was funny because BEST, best. I threw those letters in those paw fingers. So if you ever see in the South Bronx kids walking around with hoodies or sweatshirts that says best and the tiger paw in there, exploration and discovery, that was me saying, listen, I'm going to pour all of myself. As a matter of fact, I'm going to throw my brand, what I believe that I am, into the school. It will be an extension of me, but that's the only way I'm going to be able to really move it forward. Let it be something that's grounded in who I am as a leader, as an educator. So during the summertime, we rebranded. You know, we had professional brochures made, postcards made. We were hitting the ground, hitting the pavement, knocking on doors. You know, like a street team, putting flyers in people's cars. And do you know we found all 70 kids? We missed our enrollment projection by 1 kid. It was a difference. It was a difference of either paying back $400,000 or just paying back $7 million. And again, we had this, like the audacity, like Obama would say, we had the audacity to believe that we were going to find every kid possible. But not only that, the audacity to believe that we will be fully staffed for the new school year, something that hadn't happened in like 5 years. the audacity to believe that we would have a functioning school program that we would not have to change starting on first day of school, which we had. All the things that hadn't happened in so long, we did it. But that was just a summer. Coming into the school year, okay, we now had new uniforms and all these different things. Would we be able to do it? Listen, coming to my school, if a kid is out of uniform, they look out of place. And I don't yell at them. I don't go back and forth. Listen, the parents get called to bring a uniform for them, or they might have detention, whatever the case may be. But the overwhelming number of kids in the school are following. The vast majority are in alignment with our culture. In the classroom, kids are sitting down doing work. But at the same time, we all working on our pedagogy. We all working on how we teach, how students learn, using data to inform our decision-making process. Our interim assessments have been grounded in creating the ideal testing environments for every child every single time, something that had been a struggle in the past. But again, all these spaces, all these push are happening with me as the leader, moving without fear, with a laser sharp focus on what has to be done, and not worrying about the small stuff. Making sure that everybody who walks into my building, from if they're coming from Central, if they're coming from the district, they understand this is outside of your expectation of me. Here's my expectation of you as well. Are you here to support the movement, or are you here to just slow us down? It's funny that the things that I'm saying right now, being grounded in being fearless and having a very clear focus and having a plan, an outcome that you're looking at, all these different things, these are things that a lot of principals struggle with. Just having the confidence to just say, hey, this is what needs to be done. Being given the space to really have a plan and work that plan. Being able to have, supports that pours into that plan. Not being pulled left and right and being distracted. These are the things in the past that I had to really deal with, constantly not knowing if where I was or what was happening because there were all these competing priorities always being thrown at me. But now, not to say that they're still not there, but however, I have the confidence of saying, this is not going to work right now. And here's the data. This is the reasons why. This is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm doing it. Here's the data to show that, this is working or this is not working. I need help. One of the things that's changed about me too is that before I would ask for help in low key. I'm just going to ask this person here because, listen right now, if I need help in my school, I'm calling whoever I need to call. If I got to call the chancellor himself, I'm going to call the chancellor himself, which I'm not going to do unless I need to, but I'm going to make sure that my kids, my school community needs exactly what they need, receives exactly what they need. In 2 decades of doing this work, I know a lot of people. I know where to find the answer. The key has been, being brave enough to pick up that phone, to make that call and say, I need help. A lot of school leaders are too afraid to say, I don't know. Are too afraid to say, I need help. Let me tell you something. I've asked for help more times since I've been back than I did in my last two principalships combined. I always felt like I had to figure it out by myself. Let me tell you something. The best thing that I did going into this school year, mind you, I started off in the last 2 months of last school year, and with summer and everything I had to do with our enrollment and hiring and everything else, the best 3 things that I did. Number 1, I brought in strong, aspiring leadership. I brought in 2 academic deans, a veteran science teacher, people who had experience, who can come in and bring with them the level of professionalism and expectations they have for themselves that is infectious. To other people can see, like, whoa, this is what this could look like, or what this should look like. Now I didn't. The other thing was, rather than waiting for the new school year to kick in to re-attack instruction, I said, listen, let's try and get as many kids in here as possible for a summer bridge program. So I did a summer bridge program just on math alone, just on math. I knew math was our weakest area, but also it allowed us to start to build the foundations of an academic culture with a few of our 6th, 7th, 8th graders who I knew would be the Pied Pipers and go back and tell their friends, like, yo, this is what we're going to be doing coming into the new school year. But it also gave me an opportunity to see 2 prospective teachers teach doing summer bridge, because I needed math teachers, and a space where a lot of schools were not able to hire and still struggling. I was able to snatch up 2 folks who came into summer bridge who got to know me, I got to know them, and they were like equally excited about us, about the relationship we were about to have, working together at 224. All these things were all intentional curating, right? And then number 3, so the hiring of aspiring leadership, the summer bridge program, engaging the kids in mathematics over the summer, using this opportunity to evaluate and hire 2 strong math teachers at the same time. And then lastly, time to really understand the community. Like, in the summertime, I spent a lot of time talking with people in the community, the bodega, people in the streets, getting to meet parents and the custodial staff, getting the history of the community. Because one of the things I think is very, very egregious is that new leaders come in and they make assumptions about a community. They come in and all of a sudden they're trying themselves to now define the community from their own lens. Like, no, I am entering your community. So I need to mold my understanding and the way I move so that I can make traction and build trust. Because I need you to believe in me. I need us to excel. I need us to strive together. I need all this to be grounded in trust. So these are the things that were happening. So now, just fast forward now. It's January. December, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I need to stop podcasting. I'm thinking about all the topics and everything else, because my episodes have never really been consistent, but this first semester of the work has been inconsistent because all of me has been grounded and poured into, the most important thing that I'm doing right now professionally, which is, turning a school around. Getting a school off the radar being closed down, welcoming the chancellor into my building and people from Central, from the district, people to come and see what we're doing, building partnerships with amazing schools like 180, having other, the few colleagues in the district who are like, listen, we got you. How can we work with you? And we're collaborating. And as well as doing things that's outside of the box, taking our kids to go visit other schools so they can see what strong culture looks like, so they can come back and tell their classmates, like, yo, we could do better. As a matter of fact, we just had our kids go to Bronx Science on Friday. They went to Bronx Science. They're not going to be attending Bronx Science next school year, but I wanted them to see what that next level looks like. What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Because one thing that I know is this: when you start to believe in yourself, you can't help but exude a certain level of confidence that attracts people to you. It becomes infectious. When you believe in yourself, when you're like fully grounded in what you're doing, people want to be part of that. And I knew I couldn't do it by myself. So I had to stop. I had early on to stop pouring that into other people, including students including parents, including my front office staff, my teachers, the custodial staff, the folks in the cafeteria. Like for me, we're family. We're going to do this together. We're going to win or we're going to lose together. But the thing is this, we're not going to lose. God forbid, that's not happening. We're creating a space where our children will succeed for generations. I'll tell you this, because again, I'm in a space in my life where I'm just very honest. If you ask me, how long are you going to be at school? I have no idea. But you ask me this question, how long is it going to last? Listen, until the bricks of the building disintegrates and time has completely wiped away our existence. That's how I'm looking at it. Everything we're doing right now is for the purpose of ensuring a culture that lasts for the next 20, 30, 40 years. When you hear Bronx Science, you're thinking, you hear legacy. When you hear Brooklyn Tech, Stuyvesant, you're hearing legacy. It doesn't matter who the leader is. This is how things are, period. And my question is always, why can't we be the same? And that's what I'm working towards. Creating a space where children are engaged in high-level learning and teaching. Where we're not only closing the achievement gap, we're closing the experience gap too. We're exposing our kids to spaces and things, I'm saying all this because I think this is my opportunity to really revisit the letter that I posted when I walked from the DOE, but also reintroduce myself. Because that man was me. But that man was so twisted up and bent out of shape and beaten down. Even though I had done my job successfully for 2 schools as a principal, I wasn't free. I was not free. I was moving in fear, like many of my colleagues do. I was being overly cautious because I didn't want to ruffle feathers or upset people. There were times that things would happen where I was like, that is not right. But I would stand up to it because I was like, you know what? I don't want to be seen as the angry black man. There were times that there were some things that happened, they were downright just racist. Heavy levels of just uncompromising evil bias that I had to experience. But guess what? I appreciate all that now because all those experiences, all those moments has allowed me now to be who I am now. This version of Uche, Chukwu, Lawrence, and Njoku is different. And I wish I had met him much earlier. A friend of mine said the other day, you look so much different. The energy coming off of you is so different. You just seem so relaxed and so clear. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize. I guess I did know, but I just didn't know. I guess sometimes you got to hear it from somebody else. So what is the message from all this? If you're a leader and you come across this video, yes, it's going to sound like I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for you too. But one of the things, and if as well as an aspiring leader or assistant principal, or whatever, you might be a superintendent, I don't know. One of the things that we're not trained to do is truly be authentically who we are. They'll have us write our educational philosophy. That's an assignment we do as teachers. That's an assignment that we do as aspiring administrators in our graduate programs. What is your philosophy? What is it you believe in? But at no point in time are you ever engaged in activity and how to unpack that and have that be something that's living and breathing in how you do the job and how you do the job. But instead, you're being told every principal has to be like this. You got to dress the same, talk the same. You know, you have to, like, all these have tos. And it's funny because in doing all that, who are you? Listen, I still. It's funny because I remember when I started being the sneaker principal, and the funny thing about the sneaker principal thing, it wasn't like it was an accidental brand, because I was branded that because I would wear sneakers all the time, my suits and everything else, and my colleagues and their wingtips. And trust me, I love me some nice leather top and bottom brogues and Oxfords, monk straps. Trust me, I'm a Brooks Brothers guy. I have people talk about my sneaker game. My bow tie game is crazy. My bow tie game is crazy. But however, the sneakers was my way, low key back then, to fight, to resist this need for me as a school leader to be like everybody else. So I was functioning more like the spook that sat by the door. As needed, I presented one way, but then I would do those little things low key to allow self-expression to still happen. And a lot of people function like that. And it's like a slow death, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, things blow up and they're like, I can't do this anymore. Or they walk away, or they retire, or they're just broken down. Their health goes to you know, to the gutter because they're so, you know, they're not breathing. They're holding their breaths. Friend, colleague, brother, sister, find the courage to breathe. Find the courage to be as excellent as you know you can be in doing the work, but do it without fear. Speak your mind. Seek the counsel of mentors, you know, and like-minded leaders. Don't let anybody tell you that you're less than for not knowing, or you're less than and they're not even supporting you. Speak your truth. I was fortunate. I'll be honest with you, I was fortunate because before now, I don't know how I made it through all that. And did I? Because I actually had to leave. But then I came back 8 months later, and I came back a different beast. But not even different beast. I came back me. And I'm benefiting from it myself. But I also know that my students are benefiting from it, because who they have now is the principal that I wish that my other kids had gotten. They got a good portion of me, but they didn't get all of me. And now this community, these families, these teachers, my colleagues, what they're seeing is me. And me is unapologetically fixated on making sure that my children, my black and brown babies, those of the multitude of shades in the South Bronx, are getting the best possible education. Because for me, I need them to be high school ready. Because when they're high school ready, they're going to get to high school and they're going to kill it. And after that, whatever they choose, whether it's career, college, military, whatever those things happens next, it would not be said we were not ready to thrive at the next stage. Nobody's going to be pointing and saying, these kids were not prepared by Uche is Njoku. Because that's how I look at it. I tell listen, I take it personal. It's not even on y'all. If our kids are failing, it's my fault. So I want to do everything possible to make sure they're not failing. I want to do everything possible to make sure they're getting what they need. And if you're about this work, you're gonna say, Mr. Njoku, Uche, no. It's my fault too. Because we are all in this together. And that's the work. That's the work. So if you're hearing this, you're an aspiring leader, hopefully I give you a lot to think about. If you're hearing this and you are a leader right now, hopefully I gave you a whole lot to think about. But again, Rome wasn't built on a day. I just hope that you don't find yourself having to go through the path that I went to really not find myself. I already knew who I was, but to find the courage and the strength. It's exhausting to be who God made you to be and how he designed you to do this work, because it is his work. We are protecting the most important of his creation, our children. Y'all. Man, an hour and 6 minutes and 12, 13, 14 seconds and still counting. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak my truth and to share this with you. And I plan to do more of this. You know, it's hard because I'm always fearful I'm going to start rambling. It won't make any sense. And for all I know, tonight didn't make any sense. But this is what I'm doing, and I'm looking forward to starting to bring some guests in here and explore leadership and hearing the stories of leaders, not just school leaders, but just leaders in education, maybe even outside of education, because there's something to be learned about leadership by hearing those stories. Again, I'm excited. Before I jump off, though, I definitely want to give my brother Solomon a shout out. Good evening to you, brother. Bro, you inspire me too. This is a man who came across some of my content early on during the time of my departure, and we had a conversation. And he was a teacher leader, and now he's an assistant principal in Georgia. And I'm so proud of you, brother. You are the courage that we need to do this work. You are the thoughtfulness that we need to do this work, and you also the fearlessness that we need to do this work. So I'm here for you, and those of you who are watching, you know, let's engage. Hit me up, leave some comments, let me know what you think, and I'm looking forward to our next time together. All right. With that being said, have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. All right. Peace.